The only double air-to-air kill in one sortie in the Gulf War was accomplished by a Saudi F-15C, shooting down 2 Iraqi Mirage F.1EQs in less than 30 seconds. This is the story of the Saudi Arabian F-15Cs and Ds in Gulf War 1. In the 80s, Iran was equipped with the F-14 Tomcat, an extremely potent platform which could easily achieve air superiority if war were to break out with Saudi Arabia, since the Saudis were merely equipped with the English Electric Lightning. By the 80s, she was a pretty outdated bird compared to the F-jets such as the F-14, 15 and 18. Because the Saudis only had the Lightning, the US would sell them the F-15C. Well, not quite. The original Saudi F-15Cs were devoid of sensitive radar modes and TWES systems. Under the Foreign Military Sales Program, Saudi Arabia bought 46 F-15Cs and 15 F-15Ds. 2 of these F-15s would shoot down 2 Iranian F-4Es in the late 80s. Tell me down in the comments whether you would like to see me do a video on this incident. Now, let's talk about the Gulf War. Following Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait, a coalition fleet of aircraft will be set up, led by the United States. A very interesting point is how an additional 24 F-15Cs were gifted by the USAFE units to the Saudi Air Force between the 11th of September and the 10th of October in 1990. One trick that you can use to tell the aircraft apart is how the original Saudi F-15Cs had a thin harmonic balancer on the top of both vertical stabilizers, whereas on the ex-USAFE aircraft, there were thick AN/ALQ-128 ECM thicker covers on the left stabilizer and thin on the right. Much like the F-15Es that we see most commonly used today, there were conformal fuel tanks available for the USAF Charlie type F-15s. When the Saudis received their ex-USAF Charlies, they also received CFTs. Here you can see them on the aircraft. One thing to say is that the conformal fuel tanks on these Charlies are not the same as the ones on the Echo. They are the older, quote-unquote fighter version of the CFTs. Here you can see an Eagle with 4 AIM-9s, it's hard to tell which variant, 3 Mark 84s and a pair of AIM-7 Sparrows. Flying out of Dhahran in Bahrain, the Saudi F-15s would be sent to rearward combat air patrols, or goalie caps as they became known, as they were so far back, protecting C2 platforms such as the E-3 and tankers. Nevertheless, that was only for the rest of the war, after the first few days. For the first few days, however, things were a bit more exciting. On the 19th of January 1991, the second day of the air war, an F-15 from No. 13 Squadron in the Royal Saudi Air Force will do something that no other aircraft in the coalition managed to do. The pilot of this F-15C is Lieutenant Colonel Ayehid Shamrani. He and his wingman have just been vectored to intercept a pair of Mirage F1s that have taken off and are flying towards coalition ships. The Mirages have been picked up by 2 British warships and an E-3, who give the F-15s a vectoring to the target. Though the E-3 gives accurate vectors, they aren't placing the F-15s where they can see the Mirages. Shamrani breaks formation, still receiving vectors from the E-3, and after some time he gets a visual. 2 Iraqi Mirage F.1EQs with Exocet missiles at medium altitude just above the coast. Carefully, like a cat about to pounce on a mouse, al-Shamrani places his F-15C behind the Mirages. He gets a lock on the first aircraft and fires a caged AIM-9 at the Mirage.
Say ID of bandit. Target destroyed.
Now let's take a step back from the adrenaline-fueled pilot's view. Firstly, why on earth is he so close to the target, attacking them from the rear using sidewinders when the F-15's AN/APG-63 radar can easily lock on targets from beyond visual range and fire AIM-7Fs? Another question is, why would he fire a caged AIM-9 rather than uncaging the missile? In this engagement there are also a bit of politics, as a pair of very capable US Navy F-14s were nearby and could have done a much better and faster job, seeming how the Mirages were just minutes away from releasing their Exocet missiles on coalition ships. Maybe the US wanted to bring the Saudis some fame in the limelight on the global stage, who knows. In the grand scheme of things, Saudi F-15s ended up carrying about a third of the total number of flights done by USAF Eagles in the Gulf. Saudi interceptors in the Gulf, the Tornado F-3 and F-15C, managed to carry out 129 offensive counter-air missions, but a staggering 2,050 defensive counter-air missions, showing exactly where they spent the majority of their time, in rearward combat air patrols. Nevertheless, the double kill of 2 Iraqi Mirage F1s somewhat proved the F-15's lethality, contributing to today's 108-0 kill-to-death ratio in air-to-air combat on the F-15. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is the first time I did a confirmed kill reenactment on this channel. There'll be a lot more in the future. It was very fun with the DCS footage. And as always, thank you for watching.